This is National Chess Master Rats at chess.com to continue my video series on the correspondence team match played between my video lessons group and the team CARPE DIEM. This was played on board 68. Our man is ChristianAtChess, and he's playing against Matt the Shield. High 1800 versus mid 1800 rating advantage. Let's have a look at the game. Actually, Black could have won this game. I'm going to show White had great winning chances at one point, then Black had them, and just some of these simple mistakes that players make that may be moving too fast. I don't know. There's no time stamping. We're in a kind of a Queen's Gambit Decline Nimzo-Indian type system. But I think Black starts a faulty plan here. He's going to really seriously weaken his pawn structure. He plays to eliminate the dark squared bishop. Maybe he's one of these players that likes to get rid of bishops for knights. But let's see what happens. White just keeps developing. See, Black's entire queen side is undeveloped, and his king side is shaky. So, Black has the bishop pair, but Black can't even castle safely here. Rook takes h6, and the attack is on. Then the Black king side is in serious trouble. So now Black continues to go wrong, I think, with his pawns. This is what needs to be developed right now, and then you got to think about where you're going to put the king. That's why I really don't like this plan that Black is employed here. And now Black plays to try to hold on to that pawn. This is just not good. Okay, it's going to get you in trouble. You need to develop your pieces, and this is going to create some weaknesses in the Black pawn structure, which White could have exploited, as we will see here shortly. All these pawn weaknesses that Black is making could have bit him, but then White didn't miss his chance. We'll see when we get there. Okay, and now this rook is very vulnerable. Black has a little problem here. Okay, here it comes. Queen e4. Okay, now what's guarding the rook? Well, nothing. It had the knight or bishop been developed, the other one could move and the queen would be protecting it. So Black really only has one move, well, two moves here. He elects now to give back his hard-earned bishop pair and then put the queen on d5. He could have put the queen on d5 right away. The knight couldn't take it. But now the Black pawn weaknesses tell, and White just picks one up. And because of there's two pins in place here. Number one, the queen can't take the knight because the rook will go, okay? And the pawn can't take the knight because this rook will go. So it's kind of sad that for Black that White has just grabbed a pawn for nothing, and Black can't do a thing about it. But did White really grab a pawn for nothing? Well, yes and no. White just got his pawn back. But let's take a look at what's going on now. The Black pawn structure is really kind of in trouble here. Isolated pawn on h6, backward pawn on a7. The king is caught in the middle. The only thing really good for that's helping Black out is that White only has two pieces developed. But actually, White actually has four pieces developed. Both these rooks are on open files; they're actually developed, and that's going to take a little bit of the action here, as we will see. Okay, bishop b7. Now here White missed a very strong move. I can't remember what book I read it in, but it's something they call a creeping move. What would you play if you had White here? Do you know what a creeping move is? Okay, pause the video and come back. All right, what a creeping move is, it's usually done by the queen. And, the queen is this powerful piece that can run from one side of the board to the other in a hurry. But all White needs to do is play queen f4. Okay, that's the little creeping move. It threatens to grab this pawn with check, and that's going to put Black in pretty dire straits here. So how does Black defend against this? Well, we've already talked about castling. Castling is just going to drop this pawn right here, and the Black king side is in serious trouble. Or White could even play queen h6, And naturally the pawn can't take because we have an immediate mate. So castling is pretty much out of the question. Let's try guarding the pawn. Okay, here's a natural move, queen d7. Well, then white has queen f6. And where's this rook going to go? G8, f8, pick one. Well, white's just going to play rook takes h6. Now white's up a pawn, and the black dark squares are pretty soft. I'm liking white a lot here. F7 remains under pressure. It's going to be under some more pressure here shortly. And, this black knight's not developed yet. Even though white's king is caught in the center, it can pretty much tuck himself over on f1 if he really has to. But anyway, what else can black do here? Well, the only other move I could find was queen f5. But now this queen penetrates. Queen c7, and now that bishop is loose. What are you going to do with the bishop? If you still can't take this knight with the queen, because this queen takes the bishop, and all kinds of problems happen. Okay, where I'll show you. How are you going to guard the rook? Well, the only way to guard the rook is bringing the queen back. And let's see. White's got to be for choice here. Let's see. Let's see. Queen. What are we going to do here? Queen check. Let's see. Queen check. Queen back. That doesn't really do much. Let's see. Let me just back it up slightly. I was trying to remember what I was looking at beforehand. Okay. Take the knight. Okay. White has to take the bishop. Now the queen comes to d5. I know that white has rook takes a7. I was talking about both rooks being active. Both rooks are being developed. Let's try that move. That has a serious threat. I mean, I went a little too far there, queen e7. So what does black do? Well, rook takes is probably a huge mistake because the queen takes b8 check. So play here. Now b5 is ready to fall. c4 right behind it. You can't defend a5 because this will fall. See, there's that undeveloped knight and all these pawn weaknesses. h6 remains a target. White's got 6 pawns, even though one's developed. He's about to win another one. So what else can black try here after queen c7? Well, he can put his bishop up here, but then, at his leisure, white can just check, and I guess he's going to lose this knight back. Let's see, check, pick up the rook, and you've got pressure on this pawn. This knight, well, it's not really pinned, but we could actually, I was just thinking, we could even jettison that knight, desperado it. Let's hold the check a move. Let's just take this. Now when you take, now you're going to get a pawn for it. He has to come up, and h6 is under fire. White's up the exchange. Simple win for white. So let's go back to what actually happened. He didn't find queen f4. He traded the queens, and white's got a decent game here. Still, the pawn on h6 is still pinned. It's not attacking the knight. And black's got a pretty crummy bishop here. It's sitting behind some pawns. See what happens. But at this point, white throws the game away, and black fails to see it. Bishop g4 is just not a good move. All black has to do is play rook g8, and white has to give up a piece. I mean, what are you going to do? If you move the knight, the bishop falls. If you don't move the knight, the knight falls. You could take this pawn, I suppose. Rook takes, and black's up a piece and should be able to grind a win out here. There's basically no move for white. Rook g8 wins. What's the alternative? Take here. Wow, black has some happy choices. Do I want to take the bishop or do I want to take the knight? Uh, might as well take the knight because it was attacking h6. Now this is still loose, and I think black wins this. He's just up a piece, but he missed it, and he finally developed his knight at least. And so whether white saw the threat or not, maybe because now the pin is broken, this rook is now protecting. White got out of the jam, and then black decides he wants to trade off his crummy bishop. But even though the bishop is gone, black still has a lot of these deficiencies that we talked about earlier. White's rooks are still pressuring these pawns, and by the way, the d5 pawn is a little weak too. No pawn can guard it. Okay, so they kind of do a little maneuvering around. Now, I wouldn't have advanced that pawn. See, that pawn's weak, and it's weak, but it's safe on f7. Now it becomes exposed on f5. Okay, so if you have weak pawns, don't push them up. They just become weaker. Now white has to target. Okay, and now white gets a pin. Okay. Now time to redeploy that knight. Now suddenly this knight's got all kinds of ideas in mind. Maybe he's going to come to h4 and pressure f5. Maybe it's going to come to e5 because the knight on c6 is pinned. So black breaks the pin, and now white ends up getting a nice pass pawn. And look at the white rooks. Look how active they are. They never came into the game the normal way. Usually you castle and you bring them to the center files or some other open file, but they both developed on the rook files, and they're doing a great job here. Black elects to try for counterplay, get himself a pass pawn, but this fails. White just swaps off a set of rooks, and even though black has a pass pawn, all of his pawns are now weak. Even the pawn on c4 is a little weak, because if it goes forward too far, it's going to be a target. So black can't really do anything with his pawns here, so he tries to activate his king, and white just happily collects a pawn. And what's white got? 6 pawns now? 6 pawns to 3? It gets a little scary here in a little bit. Watch the black king get active. Okay. So black comes up with an idea to get the king active, which was good. But the only drawback is he's just down so many pawns. And look at that. Look at that king run. Okay. Now he's got black has some possible counterplay. Now is he attacking the rook? White doesn't have time to grab this pawn. Well, I guess he does. But he does. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was thinking there's a checkmate here, but there's a little pawn in the way. I can't see everything. Okay, but now comes the mate threat. And black has done about as well as he can from the bad ending he got into. He's got his king active, but I think that white should be able with careful play to force a win. And the first step is to break the back rank mate. And now utilize the rook. Probably best bet now is to check and force this rook back, and then try to activate the rook somehow, somewhere, to get behind these pawns before they get too far advanced. But black tries to use his king, and it's just not enough. These pawns are running too quick. And here they go, and I don't think black had time to take that pawn, because now the pawns are too far advanced, and there's no stopping them. So black resigned here. Let's just back it up slightly. Take a look at my suggestion. I don't think it's enough. Instead of king e3, let's try the check. Okay, the check forces this move. We've just deactivated the rook. And now let's get the rook on the 7th rank. This is a good thing to have. Let's see. If white plays e6, I'm not saying he should play e6, it's just the most advanced pawn. Black has time to grab this pawn because we've got this mate threat again. and king e1 is met by rook check and pick up the pawn, and suddenly black's very close to a draw here. Okay, doesn't mean black is going to draw, but I think he actually has excellent chances here. So probably white has a better move. But let's just to clarify what I was saying. White has to break the mate threat, and there's two ways to break the mate threat: sacrifice the rook. Actually, that might work. Let's see. Look at that. There we go. Hey, isn't that pretty? Well, maybe not. Let's see. Watch this. Check. Okay, if king here, you have rook there. King here should do it. Yep. All these little tricks. I was thinking that white had to play here, and I was wrong. And I said sacrifice the rook. Like, what does that do? But I was just clearing the options. But here, suddenly, I think black gets a draw. His king is just real active. These pawns are in danger. White can't run this pawn at his leisure. It'll just get blockaded, and the black king is going to bother these pawns, and I think they're going to fall. So let's back it up slightly. Interesting how rook c3 check seems to win. So, well, does it? Let's see. What if the king comes back? Yeah, that pawn just runs, doesn't it? Wow. Amazing. So, but I think in principle this would have been a better move. Now, obviously, black can't take this, but okay, let's play here. See, the king remains active, the rook remains active, and white has two choices: rook c6, which makes his rook a defender, or play f5. So let's try f5, but now the pawns are stymied. White can't advance any of them. If he plays f6, rook takes e6. So let's see. We still can't play rook takes g2 because of rook c3 check, huh? Let's see. Well, you can't back the king up. The rook is stuck. Well, you're going to have to bring the rook back. I guess white will win this, but there's a chance if you're going to lose. If you're going to lose the game, your choices are resign, right? Or try for a trick, make white prove it. Okay, so give the check, play here, and even if you see the sacrifice that I showed you, rook c3 check, even if you see it, make white find it. You don't know what white's going to do. He could choose to play king e1. That's the only other way to stop mate, right? And I didn't realize at first, again, that rook c3 was a draw. A win. I just said how you have to stop the mate. I see two ways to stop the mate: move the king or move the rook to c3. Any other rook move gets you mated, right? Am I right? Put the rook on anywhere else at c3, it's a checkmate. And the only other way to stop mate is king e1, and that just drops this pawn. Hey, let's have some fun with this since we're still here. Okay, let's take this and get rid of that. Now white needs to activate his king. Okay, now I said black's got an active king, giving him drawing chances. Let's see. Oh wait, white had a better move than king up. Rook check is decisive. Let's see, rook check. Didn't have time to, yeah, that's, let's see, so rook takes, king f2. Let's just go fork some pawns. Okay, now king f3, and we got rid of one. Black's got a good chance to draw this. He's only down a pawn. as king is still reasonably active. Anyway, you can always find stuff if you look. I'm analyzing you guys' correspondence games. How much are you analyzing your correspondence games? Obviously, a lot of you are taking these games very seriously, and you're coming up with some very fine moves. But too often, I'm just certain that from based on the moves I'm seeing, people are just getting their move, setting up the board. I'm not even sure if they go to an analysis board. You know, you have an option to bring up an analysis board. You don't even have to set it up on a real board like we did in the old days of postal chess. You know, how many those little drooky magnetic boards did I wear out playing postal chess? 3 or 4 of them. Just wore those pieces to a nub. The squares, the paint came off the squares. You couldn't tell one square from the other. Anyway, I'll be back again soon with another video. Thank you so much for your time. Take care.